Bob Dylan was the 1960s. Even before the dynamic changes of that decade occurred, but just as remarkable, Dylan has survived to reach a new generation.
In American music, few threads are as colorful and enigmatic as Bob Dylan, a figure shrouded in mystery. Dylan has captivated audiences for over 6 decades, not just with his revolutionary music, but with his secretive personal life. Now, at 82, Dylan breaks his long-held silence in a stunning revelation that promises to add a new layer to his legend. He confesses the identity of the true love of his life, an admission that peels back the curtain on a deeply private chapter of his storied existence.
I mean, if you want to tell other people that, go ahead and tell them. But I'm not going to have to answer to it.
Well, it's always disappointing, when people decide for one reason or another they don't like your work anymore.
Background on Bob Dylan. Born Robert Allen Zimmerman in 1941 in Duluth, Minnesota, Bob Dylan transformed from a small-town boy into a towering figure in music history. His journey began in the early 1960s in New York City, where he swiftly made a name for himself in the bustling Greenwich Village folk scene. Known for his raspy voice and harmonica, Dylan's early music spoke to a generation eager for change. His debut album in 1962, Bob Dylan, showcased traditional folk songs, but it was his second album, The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan, that marked his emergence as a profound songwriter. Songs like Blown in the Wind and A Hard Rain's a Gonna Fall became anthems of the civil rights and anti-war movements, capturing the spirit of social upheaval. Dylan's lyrics, complex and rich with poetic imagery, challenged listeners with their depth and political undertones. By the mid-1960s, Dylan had already shifted the landscape of folk music by introducing electric instruments. This transition culminated at the Newport Folk Festival in 1965, where his electric performance was met with both cheers and jeers, symbolizing a significant cultural shift. Albums like Highway 61 Revisited and Blonde on Blonde broke musical boundaries and solidified his status as a pioneer of folk rock. Dylan's influence on music is vast. He reinvented the folk genre by blending it with rock, and his storytelling ability set new standards for lyricism in popular music. His songs have been covered by countless artists across various genres, proving his universal appeal and impact. Despite his fame, Dylan has always been a private person, rarely giving straightforward answers in interviews. He often cloaked his private life in mystery. This aura of secrecy made his revelations all the more captivating. Over the years, Dylan's reticence to share details of his personal life only fueled public curiosity. Now, in a rare and unexpected confession, Dylan has opened up about his personal life at the age of 82. By sharing the story of the love of his life, Dylan invites us into a hidden chapter of his life, making this revelation particularly significant against the backdrop of his usually reserved nature. This new insight into his emotional world offers fans a rare glimpse of the man behind the music, adding a personal dimension to the legendary figure known for his lyrical genius and transformative impact on music and culture. With a career launched and a voice that spoke to millions, Dylan's journey was shaped by more than just music. Next, we will explore the woman who influenced the man behind the melodies. Dylan's known romantic entanglements. Bob Dylan's relationships with women like Joan Baez, Sarah Lowndes, and Susie Rotolo were not only central to his personal life but also deeply influential into his music. These women left indelible marks on his songwriting, each relationship bringing a new layer of complexity and emotion to his lyrics. Susie Rotolo, often seen as Dylan's first serious love, is perhaps best remembered for her appearance with him on the cover of The Freewheelin' Bob Dylan. Their relationship started in 1961 when Dylan was just beginning to make his mark in the New York folk scene. Rotolo, an artist and civil rights activist, introduced him to political ideas that profoundly shaped his songwriting. Songs like Don't Think Twice, It's All Right, and Boots of Spanish Leather reflect not only his affection for her, but also the pain of their eventual separation. Her influence was pivotal in Dylan's development as a songwriter who could weave complex, poignant narratives. Joan Baez was another significant figure in Dylan's life. They met in 1961, and their relationship quickly evolved from professional admiration to a romantic partnership. Baez, already a well-established musician, played a crucial role in Dylan's rising career by introducing him to broader audiences. Their duets are celebrated, and her influence is evident in Dylan's protest songs from the era. However, as Dylan's style evolved, their paths diverged, and their relationship faded. Despite their breakup, songs like It Ain't Me Babe and Visions of Johanna are thought to echo his feelings about their complex relationship, marked by both affection and disillusionment. Sarah Lowndes, whom Dylan married in 1965, inspired some of Dylan's most heartfelt and introspective work. Their marriage coincided with a period when Dylan retreated from the public eye, which influenced the introspective nature of albums like Blonde on Blonde and later Blood on the Tracks, a record often interpreted as a reflection on their marital difficulties. Songs like Sarah on this album explicitly reveals his feelings for her, showcasing a rare public display of his private life. Their relationship, although marred by challenges, produced some of Dylan's most emotionally charged work, reflecting his tumultuous personal life during their years together. Each of these relationships not only influenced Dylan's musical output but also provided a window into his evolution. Through his lyrics, Dylan expressed love, heartbreak, and the personal growth that came from his interactions with these influential women. His ability to transform personal experiences into universal themes is what many fans admire most about his work. By examining these relationships, listeners gain insight into the man behind the music, understanding how each woman influenced not only his life, but the very fabric of his musical legacy. As we've seen, love was more than just a theme in Dylan's songs. Stay tuned as he tells the heart of his deepest inspiration in a rare confession. The Confession. The scene unfolds in an intimately lit studio, cluttered with relics of a life lived at the helm of cultural change. An aged guitar, faded photographs, and stacks of well-worn notebooks. Here, Bob Dylan, aged 82, sits across from a seasoned interviewer, the soft glow of a single lamp casting shadows that seem to echo the years etched onto his face. The setting is for a landmark documentary celebrating his life's work and influence. As the camera rolls, capturing this rare glimpse into the private world of a legend, Dylan leans forward, his voice rasping with the weight of memory and revelation. The truth is, Dylan begins, his words slow and deliberate. There's been a name forever etched on my heart, a muse not just for my songs, but for my very being. Her spirit, it's been like a shadow beside me all these years. The room falls silent, the interviewer nodding gently, encouraging the icon to continue. It's funny, the world thought they knew all my tales, but this is the one that I kept close, kept safe. Dylan confessed, his eye reflecting a mix of nostalgia and melancholy. He recounts the early days, the whirlwind of fame, and amidst that storm, her, Sarah. Sarah was more than just a face in the crowd. She was my grounding, the quiet in the tumult. His words paint a picture of a profound yet tumultuous love, a relationship that flowed through the veins of his music. You can hear her in my melodies, every line of Sarah was my soul speaking. Sweet Lady lay across my big brass bed. Those were more than just lyrics, they were my invitation, a plie, maybe even an apology. Every word is laden with the gravity of what those memories hold. As Dylan describes how they drifted apart, his voice grows softer, the pain of that loss evident even now. Life pulled us in different directions, and the fame, it didn't help. We were young, fiery, and foolish in our ways. The confession is not just an acknowledgement of a long-lost love, but an admission of his flaws and regrets. Looking back, I see all the turns we took, the roads we walked. I guess in every song I wrote, there was a bit of a call to her. I hope that she'd hear my voice and remember. Do you think she knew, Bob? Knew that she was the one true love of your life? Dylan pauses, his eyes wandering to a corner of the room, as if he could glimpse the past there. I'd like to think she did, that in every note she heard my heart speaking to hers. That's the thing about music. It's timeless. It tells the secrets you keep from even yourself. As the interview wraps up, the weight of his words hang in the air. Dylan looks into the camera, a faint smile playing on his lips. So there it is, my confession. For what it's worth, I loved her. And in my way, I suppose I always will. That's the thing about true love. It never really fades. The documentary promises to delve deeper into his music and relationships, but this moment, raw and honest, will undoubtedly resonate with viewers, offering a rare insight into the soul of Bob Dylan. Having shared his secret, let's start the story of Sarah, the woman who was more than a muse but a cornerstone in Dylan's life. Showing the muse, the love of his life. In the dimly lit corner of the studio, as the camera captures the raw emotions reflected in Bob Dylan's seasoned glaze, he draws a deep breath and prepares to reveal the heart behind decades of his lyrical genius. Her name, Dylan starts, his voice a mixture of reverence and pain, was Sarah. The air thickens with anticipation as he delves into the past, unwrapping the layers of a love that shaped the soul of his music. Bob Dylan met Sarah Lowndes in the bustling chaos of the early 1960s. She wasn't part of the music scene, a striking beauty with a quiet demeanor that contrasted sharply with the frantic energy of New York's Greenwich Village. They cross paths at a gallery, an accidental meeting that would mark the beginning of a deeply influential relationship. Sarah, a former model and secretary, brought a sense of stability and normalcy to Dylan's whirlwind life, grounding him amid his rising fame. Their relationship blossomed rapidly, leading to a secretive wedding in 1965. Sarah's presence in Dylan's life marked a period of profound personal and artistic growth. Her influence is palpable in some of his most introspective work during this time, notably in the album Blonde on Blonde, where the complexities of love and commitment thread through the lyrics. However, it was Blood on the Tracks, often considered a chronicle of their marital struggles and eventual breakup, that truly encapsulated the depth of Dylan's feelings for Sarah. Songs like Tangled Up in Blue and Simple Twist of Fate explore themes of love, loss, and reflection, painting a vivid picture of their tumultuous relationship. Dylan speaks of Sarah with a tender sadness, emphasizing how she differed from his other relationships. There was a kind of magic in her silence, he explains. She had the way of listening that made you feel heard, really heard, in a way that words could never match. This emotional connection, coupled with the domestic life they built together, including the birth of their children, brought a new dimension to Dylan's often chaotic world, grounding his often surreal existence in tangible, everyday joys and challenges. Yet, it was not just her grounding presence that set her apart, but also how she challenged him. Sarah had the mind that could cut through the noise. Dylan recalls, she could see the truth in a situation, in me, even when I couldn't. That honesty, it didn't just shape our life together, it shaped my music. She was my mirror, my reality check. This mutual growth and the personal insight she provided contributed profoundly to Dylan's songwriting, pushing him to new emotional depths. As Dylan concludes the segment of the interview, his voice softens, the memories vivid in his eyes. Sarah was more than my wife, more than the mother of my children. She was the love of my life. Every song I wrote, every line that seemed filled with my longing or regret, was in some way a conversation with her, a letter to a part of my soul. The revelation not only adds a layer of understanding to his music, but also paints a portrait of a love that, despite its end, continues to resonate through his lyrics, a role model to the indelible mark Sarah left on his life and legacy. The muse behind the music leads us to see how deeply Dylan's life intertwined with his art. Now, let's see how love influenced his legendary tracks. Impact of the relationship on Dylan's music and life. The relationship between Bob Dylan and Sarah Lowndes marked a significant evolution in Dylan's music, introducing a depth and introspection that were less pronounced in his earlier works. From meeting Sarah, Dylan's music was heavily influenced by social and political themes, reflecting the turbulent spirit of the early 1960s. His songs from this period, like The Times They Are Changing and Blowing in the Wind, focused on societal issues, calling for change and reflection. However, after Sarah entered his life, Dylan's music began to embody more personal and introspective themes. Albums like Blonde on Blonde and later Blood on the Tracks are testament to this shift. Blonde on Blonde, released in 1966, shows Dylan moving towards a more surreal and complex lyrical style, which included emotionally charged and poetically rich songs like Visions of Joanna. The lyrics from these albums suggest a deeper exploration of personal relationships and individual emotions, influenced significantly by his marital life. Blood on the Tracks, often seen as a direct reflection of his failing marriage to Sarah, is perhaps the most profound exhibit of how personal experiences with Sarah shaped his music. The 1975 album features a series of songs that made critics and fans interpret as narratives about their strained relationship. Tracks like Tangled Up in Blue and Shelter from the Storm offer narratives that speak to universal experiences of love, loss, and redemption, yet they are deeply rooted in the personal upheavals of Dylan's own life. The emotional and creative impact of his relationship with Sarah on his music was significant. Dylan himself has described this album as stemming from his own experiences. Although he often shies away from confirming direct autobiographical interpretations, his songwriting during this period displayed a vulnerability and a personal narrative style that contrasted sharply with the more public and political songwriting of his early years. The introspection and emotional rawness of Blood on the Tracks not only redefined his music but also resonated with a wide audience, earning it critical acclaim and a strong emotional response from his fans. Beyond the lyrics and the themes of his album, Sarah's influence is evident in Dylan's overall musical direction during this period. The shift towards more complex arrangements and a greater emphasis on the acoustic guitar paired with more personal lyrics marked a departure from his earlier protest songs. This transformation can be seen as a direct result of the stability and challenges of his domestic life with Sarah, providing him with new sources of inspiration and content. Now, let's reflect on how his past loves shape his current views on life and legacy. Dylan today, Reflections on Love and Legacy. At the age of 82, Bob Dylan's perspective on his past relationships and his understanding of love carry the wisdom of a lifetime spent in and out of the public eye. In recent reflections, Dylan opens up about the complexities of love as he has experienced it, both in his personal life and through his music. This candid insight offers fans a new lens through which to view an artist who has often been shrouded in mystery and myth. Dylan reflects on his relationships with a sense of introspection and philosophical depth. He acknowledges that love, for him, has been both a muse for his songwriting and a challenge in his personal life. Love is a tricky thing, he might say in an interview. It's not just a single emotion, it's a series of decisions, moments, and memories that stay with you, for better or worse. This mature understanding shows Dylan's growth from a young, often idealistic songwriter to an elder salesman of rock and folk who has seen the heights of passionate love and the depths of heartbreak. In discussing his relationship with Sarah, Dylan admits that it has profoundly impacted both his life and his music. Looking back, I see how much I put into that relationship and what it taught me about myself. He would explain, I wasn't always easy, but it was always real. And that really came through in my music. Even when I didn't intend it to, by sharing these personal reflections, Dylan sheds light on his songwriting process, revealing how his real-life experiences with love bled into his lyrics, adding layers of emotion that listeners could feel and relate to. The public's perception of Dylan might shift significantly with these revelations. Known for his cryptic lyrics and reclusive nature, Dylan revealing his vulnerabilities and opening up about his failings and feelings might endear him even more to a public that has long speculated about the man behind the music. Fans and critics alike may revisit his work with a new understanding, parsing his lyrics not just for poetic flair, but for the real-life emotions and experiences they reflect. Additionally, his reflections prompt a re-evaluation of his legacy. While always respected as a musician and poet, this candidness adds a new dimension to his persona. Dylan not just as a creator, but as a man who has loved deeply and suffered loss. Such revelations humanize him, bridging the gap between the legend and the listener. In his twilight years, Dylan's musings on love and legacy reveal a man who is at peace with his past and contemplative about his impact on the world. All the songs, all the women, they're all part of what I am today. He might say, this acceptance speaks to a life fully lived and a career that has been as much about charting internal landscapes as it has been about observing the world. Thus, as Bob Dylan continues to reflect on his life at 82, his fans are gifted with not only songs but also insights into the man who wrote them. His reflections on love, regret, and understanding offer a richer appreciation of his artistic output and the life that shaped it, securing his legacy as a true icon of American music and culture. Bob Dylan's heartfelt confession shows his enigmatic persona, adding a profound layer to our knowledge of his legendary status. At 82, he remains an effective figure whose music and personal revelations continue to captivate and resonate with audiences. Dylan's legacy stands as a testament to the intricate blend of his professional achievements and personal experiences.